Khorne here, and today I will be sharing with you what I consider to be the best start for the Fay Enchantress. The campaign is gonna be on legendary difficulty with very hard battles and no mods. In the guide, I will be showing you how to occupy 4 entire provinces or 7 settlements, including Paravon before Orion can claim it, kill Grom and get it straight twice, and get the questing vow on the Fay, her paladin, and 2 different lords. Now, in order to do well in this campaign, you should try and remember a few key facts about it. For starters, when it comes to fighting battles, the Fay has a passive ability which makes it so that while she is in melee, she damages all nearby enemy units and lowers their melee attack by 5. Because of this, you should never be too shy about sending her into melee, but do be careful where you send her, considering she isn't really a good melee combatant, so try and avoid starting duels with her. The paladin she starts off with gives all nearby lords and heroes the Guardian buff, which increases their physical resistance by 15%. So always try and have him as close to your lords and heroes as possible. You also start out with a unit of Grail Guardians, which the Fay lowers the upkeep cost of, but only when they are in her army. To reduce the upkeep cost for the rest of your knight units, you will have to progress her vows as you would with any other lord. Finally, while we are on the topic of vows, don't forget to start progressing them, as even I occasionally forget to do this. And now, with the very basics out of the way, let's get started. Attach your paladin to the army, go into the vows section of your characters and choose the pledge to chivalry to progress your knight's vow. Afterwards, attack your first enemy. I would recommend you fight this battle manually to take as few casualties as possible. Deploy outside of the range of their Doomdiver catapults, but since your trebuchet has longer range, try and deploy it so that it can still shoot the enemy. Keep the knights alongside with the paladin hidden, and when the enemy starts charging you, reveal your cavalry and go for the enemy artillery. Cast Awakening of the Woods to slow down the orcs approaching your army, and send the Fay into melee to make the enemy blob up around her and just shoot them with your archers. One key thing you need to remember is to kill the enemy lord after winning the battle to have a higher chance at getting an item post-battle. After winning the first battle, attack and occupy Brion should be much simpler, and I would recommend doing it manually again to suffer as few casualties as possible. After winning the battle, activate the commandment for public order, recruit a lord at Castle Carcassonne, start recruiting 3 peasant spears in whichever army, doesn't really matter. Start building the fields building in Castle Carcassonne for the income and so that we can recruit some archers. Start researching anything you really want, but I chose to go towards the Green Tide Decree and try to get some income from Aquitaine for a non-aggression pact. Since they will die over the end turn, it doesn't really matter if you can do any other diplomacy, just get as much money as possible. Now, when it comes to leveling up the Fay, you will want to start putting skill points into Earth's Blood and later on into Dwellers Below. As for the Paladin, get training and then go for his defensive skills. After finishing all of that, you just end the turn. Turn 2, you will be presented with a mission to construct the Tower of the Enchantress to get Morgiana's Mirror and 5,000 income. But in reality, just building any building instantly gives you these rewards, so don't worry too much about it. Just go ahead and demolish the barracks, swap the commandment to construction cost reduction. Afterwards, move the Lord from Castle Carcassonne towards Quenellis. Start recruiting 3 archers with that lord and start force marching the Fay towards Quenellis as well. Don't forget to start the vow for your new lord and just end the turn. Over the end turn, Grom will just finish off Aquitaine by occupying Bordelot and will stay there until it is time to purge him from our lands, so you don't have to worry too much about him. Turn 3, you will offer to join war against Paravon with Orion for trade and some money. This might seem a bit unchivalrous, but if you don't do this, Orion will take all of Paravon's territory by turn 5, and will infest your lands for the rest of the campaign. So by taking them out first, we can spare ourselves the taint of elves. Just besiege the settlement with the Fay, transfer the archers into her army, and then begin the attack. The battle shouldn't be that difficult, just take a defensive position and start shooting them with your trebuchet. Be careful about the enemy cavalry, especially the Knights of the Realm. You'll want to use your own cavalry to match theirs, and you'll want to use the Paladin and the Lord to hunt down the enemy Lord. Use the Fay to blob up the enemy around her, cast Awakening of the Woods to damage enemy blobs, and use Earthblood to heal the Fay and the two heroes. After winning the battle, just sack the settlement and use the second Lord to occupy it. Recruit a new Lord at Quenelles. Put the Fay into channeling stance and move her towards Paravon. Don't forget to activate the vow on your third Lord and spend the skill points you just earned. Now for a very crucial thing. At Castle Carcassonne, you will want to start building the walls, as we will have to defend it against Icatclaw real soon, and not having them built up will be problematic. Begin upgrading the settlement building at Brionne, and swap the commandment for public order bonuses. Next you'll want to go into diplomacy, and first you want to get some income from Estalia for a non-aggression pact, and you'll also want to join war against Carrick Norn with Durthu for some income and good relations. After finishing all of that, you can just go ahead and end the turn. On turn 4, you will have completed the quest for the Fay's item, which go ahead and equip on her. Using the Fay, besiege Paravon and bring in the other two lords to assist her. Now, if you have fought the battle at Quenelles well enough, your army should be fully replenished, so just go ahead and auto-resolve the siege. If not, and you lose some units, so long as there aren't your cavalry, lords or trebuchet, you can still auto-resolve it and replace those units over the end turn. If you do, however, lose any of your good units in auto-resolve, well, then you'll have to suffer fighting a siege. Good luck. Now, when you occupy Paravon, there is a chance you will capture it with the stables, which will allow you to recruit some Knights Errant. Considering the Fay should have finished her Knight's Vow by this point, you should be fine recruiting some into her army. In the situation here, I got the barracks unfortunately, so I will just have to be content with some peasant spears and a few more archers. Put the commandment for better public order at Paravon, and you will want to recruit a fourth lord. Recruiting him at Quenelles would be best, but recruiting him at Paravon, as I did in this situation, isn't that big of a mistake either. You'll just want to make sure you can reach and besiege Massif Orcal with one of your armies on turn 6. Start moving the other two lords towards it now in force march, spend your skill points, pledge to chivalry for your new lord, and just end the turn. Turn 5, you'll want to force march all of your armies to this position, so that you can attack Massif Orcal next turn. Start demolishing the barracks and forge at Paravon, or if you have the stables, you can just keep that one but demolish the forge. Swap the commandment over to construction cost reduction, and just end the turn. Turn 6, you will want to declare war in Grom and start looking at how to occupy Massif Orcal. Since there is an army sitting outside of the settlement, you will want to try and avoid a siege at all costs. Not because it will be difficult, but so you preserve your sanity. See which one of your lords will have enough movement to reach the enemy army standing outside of the settlement. If you can attack it with the Fay, you will always want to use her to make the attack. But on the off chance you can't, just place her in reinforcement range and attack with a lord that can. Be mindful that you can only reinforce with 2 lords here because of how narrow the terrain leading to the enemy settlement is. So one of your lords will just have to stay back and watch the battle. Fight the battle manually and basically do what you've been doing since the start. Take a defensive position, blob the enemy around the Fay, and use your cavalry to trample their ranged units. Just make sure that at the end of the battle, you run down as many of the enemy units as you possibly can, so that way you can avoid fighting a siege manually. Again, preserve your sanity. After winning the battle, attack the settlement and auto-resolve it. Move some of your armies towards Aquitaine, and if you can, put them in ambush stance. If not, it doesn't matter too much from what I've seen. Just try and have all of your armies replenish, and the Fay must be sitting inside of Massive Orcal, because if she is not, Grom will not make a mistake over the end turn. Put in your skill points, and over at Paravon, start constructing the fields for some income. Over at Carcassonne, swap the commandment to reducing construction cost, and at Massive Orcal, demolish any building that isn't a income building and activate the commandment for extra public order. Afterwards, just end the turn. Over the end turn, what happens is Grom will force march his Fat Majesty in front of your armies if the Fay is sitting inside of Massive Orcal with her entire army. On turn 7, if you've finished researching, start a new research. Here I went for the sewer cleaning decree, so we can better fight the rats. Over at Brionne, you'll want to start constructing the fields for some income and swap the commandment to public order bonuses. Over at Paravon, if you have the stables and just built the fields, you don't have to do anything, but if you have another free slot, start building the windmill to increase your farm income, as well as accumulate some growth. Repair the settlement building at Quenellis so you can start building it up next turn. And now comes the battle with Grom. Move all of your armies into position to attack him. Make sure you transfer all of the units from the Fay's army into a fresh army so that they don't suffer any vigor penalties. And before you launch the attack, make sure you activate the pledge to protect questing vow for the Fay and her paladin, which will instantly complete after winning the battle. Attack Grom, and if you don't want to fight it manually and all you lose are peasants, then you can just go ahead and auto-resolve it. But it isn't a difficult battle, so I would suggest fighting it. Grom can easily be killed in this battle by either ganging up on him with your lords or shooting him with your archers. Either way works. And the rest of the battle should be fairly similar to every battle you fought up until this point. Just take a defensive position, blob the enemy around the Fay, and trample them with your cavalry. After beating Grom, just transfer the units back into the Fay's army so you don't have to pay extra upkeep for the Grail Guardians, move them closer to Aquitaine, recruit a new lord at Castle Carcassonne, and start recruiting some more archers. If you don't have a income building in Massive Orcal, construct one and just end the turn. Now, like clockwork, this is usually about the time Ikitclaw declares war on you. But he won't always instantly send armies at you. Sometimes he will wait before attacking you, which does make it so you can be better prepared when fighting him. Turn 8, you will want to attack Aquitaine with the Fay if possible, and here, if you lose any units, you should fight the battle manually. But you can always auto-resolve it and replace the peasants with archers. Sack the settlement, and here I did forget to pledge to valor for the Grail vow. Not that big a deal, but you should try and keep on top of that in your campaign. Over at Castle Carcassonne, you should be able to get the Mounted Yeoman Regiments of Renown, so go ahead and do that. Start force marching your armies towards Ikitclaw, as he does have a tendency to go after your minor settlements. So just to be on the safe side, you should look to be able to answer him with the Fay. You should also recruit a new lord at Castle Carcassonne, transfer the units from your first lord to the second, and move the first lord away from the settlement towards the Fay, but do so in a way that he is still within attack range of the Skaven armies. Afterwards, just end the turn. Now, in this situation, one of the Skaven armies attacked my second lord, which I just retreated, but don't worry, even if you get ambushed, you can always just run off the battlefield. And Ikitclaw attacked my capital settlement. If you have built the walls here, you will get a lot of auto-resolve bonuses, and you should just be able to auto-resolve them. Remember, this is on very hard battle difficulty, so you shouldn't worry about it. After you auto-resolved Ikitclaw, he should still be alive, which will let us get his trait one more time. On turn 9, use both lores to wipe out what remains of the Skaven force. You should be able to just auto-resolve them. Just make sure you defeat Ikitclaw using the lord that doesn't have his trait. Back over at the Fay, just sack Aquitaine again and start moving towards Bordeloo. Construct what you can at Castle Carcassonne, put any skill points you may have, and end the turn. Turn 10, begin researching whatever you want, sack Aquitaine, occupy Bordeloo, start upgrading the settlement building at Castle Carcassonne. If you can, I would suggest getting treaties with Luen immediately, so he doesn't declare war on you, and just end the turn. Turn 11, sack Aquitaine again, start moving the Fay towards Skavenblight to deal with Ikitclaw, but leave the lords to attack Aquitaine again. Recruit a Prophetess of Life at Bordeloo, and just end the turn. On turn 12, 2 of your lords should have completed their Nice Vow, so for the questing vow, put Pledge to Protect again. Grom should have come back and is sitting at Aquitaine. Just go ahead, attack the settlement, and you will get the questing vow. If you want, you can keep Grom alive as a sack city to get the questing vow a lot easier, but I would suggest occupying it and moving on. And there we go. That is the end of the guide. From here on out, it is up to you to continue the campaign. I would suggest you go and fight Ikitclaw and Morgur, which, depending on how you go about it, can be very difficult, but not impossible. If you enjoyed this one and would like to see more of these, don't forget to subscribe for future content. Thank you all for watching, and until next time.
Khorne fights us war.